Greetings and welcome. I am Joffrey, and today I would like to discuss cultures. Specifically, another thing that I have noticed from watching Lambert's video. When watching Lambert's video on playing Florence, I really just put into focus something from the Cultures Dev Diary, the Tinto Talks 36 for culture. You get to see culture opinion and culture capacity, and these two key things, they highlight that most countries, your culture capacity starts quite low, but you can increase it over time. And of course there is the whole in using diplomatic actions that we've heard about, where you can try and increase other cultures' opinions of each other. But here, Lambert is playing as Florence, and almost the entirety of his country, a whole 95% of it, is Tuscan, which is his primary culture. Now, all he is doing, he is just tolerating. So he's reducing penalties, but still converting the Emilian pops in his country. This culture is only just slightly more common in his country than the Jewish pops of Italy, the Italki, which is a really interesting name. But somehow, even doing that, despite them being a neutral opinion and being such a low percentage of his population, even that, tolerating them, goes over his accepted culture capacity, which is insane to me. Because specifically I'd been going off of this image all of this time from the Cultures Dev Diary, where we see this accepted cultures of Aragon, where Aragon also has only a one culture capacity, but and for them accepting Andalusi is a 0.88. So it's expensive to well, they're not accepting them. I think they're tolerating uh, yes, they're tolerating Andalusi, which is only 12% of their population, and still that's pretty expensive. But despite that, it's really cheap because you see Andalusi very expensive because it costs a base of one, but them having a shared culture group reduces it, and I thought that as an Italian, where you see here, okay, the base is 1. You reduce it by having one shared culture group by 15, so presumably the more culture groups you share, the cheaper it gets, which is going to be interesting implication-wise for mods, because when it comes to making different races, theoretically all of different custom races you'll add in mods will have at least one shared culture group. It's something I've been worrying about, but in any case, when you look at this, one of the bigger factors that causes the price to go up, and I thought would go down, I thought it would make it cheaper, is the comparison. You see, there's a lot more, there's a lot more Catalans than there are Andalusi. Um, Actually, wait, that's a little odd. The numbers here are a little confusing, the 1.06 million versus the 995. This is acting as though there's more. It makes it seem as though there's more Andalusi than there are Catalans, but the percentage here means that there should be a lot higher amount of Catalans in the country than the Andalusi. But in any case, the point that I'm trying to make is that I figured that in here, because there's so few Emilians, it would be really easy to tolerate them, especially since they share a culture group. They're both Italians, as we can see. Though there aren't any. There's only one, interestingly, the Italki are the only ones where they have two, Jewish and Italian. Theoretically, as a result, the Jewish Italki would be also very easy to accept, but by either Jews or Italians. But the curious thing is just that it costs so much to tolerate them. Even that just it costs the 0.1 or just the 1 to tolerate them. And again, here they're not trying to accept the Emilians because that would put them way above the capacity. But it's still like you go to the Aragonese. This is where I get really confused by that, because you see okay, in Lambert's video here, the Emilians don't have positive opinions. The Emilians and Tuscans don't have positive opinions of each other, so you don't get that 25% cost reduction, which is really good. I can only wonder what the bonus for being kindred opinion of each other is. Must be crazy good, but which is what it shows. Yeah, Catalan kindred because they're the primary culture, so obviously. But the Aragonese reduced by 25% for that. But then you get this huge reduction from the population comparison, and this is where I get really confused because there's so few of them compared to the Catalans. So surely that means that for Lambert in this, it should be cheap as hell. He should be able to accept all of these super easily. But he can't, because for some reason tolerating the Emilians is extremely expensive, where theoretically it should be like a 70% reduction just because of the size, and then another from the like it should basically be free is what I'm super confused by, because there's so few Emilians comparison wise, so you should get this huge reduction from the size difference in cultures, then the shared culture group, and then the shared language family, because they both should be speaking Cisalpine, I believe, whereas Italians further south, I think. No, they actually should both be Italian. I think Cisalpine is just the Po Valley in Genoa. But in any case, all of these these bonuses should drop it down to be basically free, even to culturally accept them, much less to tolerate them. And I suppose this is just a long-winded rant of me trying to say that I think that they've made some big changes to how expensive it is to accept cultures, and I think that this is going to make the game a lot more difficult earlier when it comes to trying to expand. And I'm curious, when it comes to me being a modder, how this is all going to work out balance-wise, and how when it comes to trying to approach modding the game, I'm going to want to adjust these modifiers. And when it comes to making custom cultures, how you're going to consider dealing with culture groups and languages for the sake of making it more or less difficult to accept various cultures. The court language is also a curious thing, because presumably this means that if your primary culture shares a language family with it, yeah, same language family as primary culture or court language, that means that if your court language is different from your primary culture's language, it's actually a good thing, oddly enough. Because if you are, say, the Teutonic Order, and you are, okay, well, that's kind of a bad example, because I was going to say the Teutonic Order, where they speak Latin as their court language, is going to be better for culturally accepting Latin-speaking cultures, but no such thing exists. But the better example is Arabic, I think, because I imagine that due to Arabic being the liturgical language of a lot of cultures, there's probably quite a few cultures that use it as their court language. And I can imagine if it's easy for you to swap your court language like that, a lot of people are going to want to, and that will make it a lot easier for people to, in general, accept Arabic-speaking cultures, because they'll share the court language. But again, with how much this has been changed, seemingly, maybe that's not so much the case anymore. Otherwise, why would it cost so much? But maybe I'm just reading far too much into just a single screenshot. But if you folks have found your way to me, and you've watched all the way to the end of this now 9-minute long video, perhaps that's what you're here for, after all. So thank you for watching the Bald Man Rant. I hope you got something out of it, and you don't think that I'm just overthinking this. But if I am, let me know. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.